Go.
Okay, so we have the first slide. So good morning, everyone. So welcome to Advanced Assessments. And so I'm joined this morning with Nicole. You probably know Nicole. Nicole, you're third year, right? Second, where are you?
End of my second year.
Yeah, end of her second year in the doctoral cohort, and she has been my TA for this past year. And you live in Ohio, and I'm here in Virginia Beach. So we're making this YouTube this morning as a kind of a response to not being able to have a collaborate this week because Dr. Smith has commandeered in week one. That's fine. We're flexible. Let me just say, you know what, Nicole? I think this might be the most helpful way to start off this class. And you were exactly where the doctoral students were a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so you took both the advanced assessments class and the multicultural class with Dr. Smith in the same 8-week block, just like they're doing. So without like traumatizing them, can you just maybe for a say what do they need to do and to be successful in both of these classes?
Sure. I would say, I guess what I would say is that the time goes very quickly. And so unlike our normal 16-week semesters, with it being condensed, you really have to be intentional about staying on top of things. So it really went very, and it was an enjoyable semester. So I really enjoyed both classes. But yeah, just stay on top of things because you don't have the same kind of time to work with.
Yeah,
try to limit
good.
some of the other things that you're doing, knowing that there's a break right ahead.
So does it really accelerate the last 4 weeks? Does it feel like I know Dr. Smith has a lot of going on in her class, so does it feel like you're going to get run over by a Mack truck the last 3 or 4 weeks if you're not careful with things, or how's the pace, or is it about the same all the way along?
Yeah, it was a semester that felt steady from start to finish in terms of amount of work.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So everyone, feel free to, as you connect with Nicole this semester as the TA for this class, to also just talk to her about the pace of both of these classes. I think she could be a valuable resource. So let me just real quick mention, so here are the primary texts that are in the syllabus for this class. The first one is the Ben Porath. So Yosef Ben Porath, this is his Interpreting the MMPI 2RF. This will be a very valuable text. It's incredibly dense at points, so FYI, it is a heavy read. And then the other book, which I just love this text as a resource tool. I hope you hold on to this book for years to come. And so it's the Groth, Marnat, and Wright text. So I have like somewhere on my shelf, I have the second edition. And there was no Wright then. I don't know where Jordan Wright came from. He just emerged or something. So those are the two texts. There's lots of other really great texts that you can use in this class. Now, I did see on my syllabus that says testing materials. And so everyone might be going to their mailboxes looking for an MMPI packet that I talked about, but we've been able to change how we're administering the MMPI. So probably, this is Monday, probably before the end of the workday on Tuesday, so tomorrow, everyone will receive a link. And that link will take you to an online format for you to complete the MMPI too. And so everyone in the class, as part of being in advanced assessments, you have to complete an MMPI too. Now, I just want you to understand a couple of things about some boundary violations, which I try to help us with and avoid in this class. So when you take the MMPI-2, if it asks for your name, you need to use a pseudonym. So, you can be Mr. Smith, or you can be Superman, or whatever you want for your pseudonym. But you need to email Nicole before you complete the instrument what your pseudonym is. She will keep a document that is able to match the student with the pseudonym. I who you are. I will just be, when I am looking at your MMPI write-up on yourself, which is one of the major tasks, I will just be reading, Wonder Woman or whatever your pseudonym is, and will be grading and giving you feedback, but I won't know whose I'm reading in the class. So that's just a way of me being able to give you some substantive feedback without feeling like I'm getting lost in your MMPI personal results and things like that. Now, obviously I'll mark them up, and then Nicole will then be able to take the grade that I give to each one and go back in the grade book and give you. So, the idea, and we'll get into this just a little bit, the idea behind this assignment, let's just go to this, by the way. We go to the second slide.
We are now.
Okay, so what we're talking about is this assignment that's worth 80 points out of 220 for your grade. So a self-case report using the MMPI-2. And so you'll complete this MMPI-2, you'll get and you will take that clinical profile sheet, and based upon the learning you're doing in the class, you'll write up your own case report on yourself on the MMPI-2. Case report is found in your syllabus. So as you review the syllabus, you can find one, and if you would like more report writing examples, I can provide you additional ones for you to look at. So I guess that's a big part of your grade. As a matter of fact, that 80-point write-up is the largest. And so I will give you a lot of feedback on your self-report. And what I'm looking for is, did you follow the format, and can you start to write in a formal, structured way, the way assessments need to be written up and presented professionally? And did you make full meaning out of your MMPI profile in your write-up? So if you glossed over some things, that might be where I would give you a lot of points could be deducted in that task. So here's the bad news. This is an 8-week class, and so we have to be very selective. I wish this was a 16-week class and we could talk and delve into a lot more content, like cognitive testing or projective testing or academic tests. Other behavioral assessments are fun to look at, but because I try to streamline for you, if I would try to do what I would normally do in a 16-week class, none of you would survive. It's just way too much, especially with the multi-call. Of the assessment work that we're going to do in here is around the MMPI-2 and the MMPI-2RF. Towards the end of the semester, or the 8 weeks, I'll also have Dr. Keener, who is a psychologist and is a research qualified in the ADOS, which is the gold standard for autism and assessing autism. And she'll come in and do a wonderful presentation talking about all the instruments that are used in the field of autism, from screening to assessments. And I like to bring her MBTI and what we're doing. And I found that through the years, a lot of people have an interest in autism. It's a growing area where we're, as counselors, finding ourselves providing more and more services. And so to be able to, even if you never administer an ADOS, to be able to understand what an ADOS report looks like and how assessment and screening tools are used with individuals that may have autism is really helpful. So we're going to get that in there. We're going to leave tons of things on the editing floor and never even talk about, like I say, like I would love to teach a whole class just on the WISC or the WIPSI or Stanford Binet, things like that, intellectual testing, but we just can't do it in this 8 weeks. So the other, let's go back up to how else you're going to be evaluated. So the first task that you see listed there is our research teams. And so this just seems to me like a wonderful way to pick up the thread and wind it into a ball and finish out the work that we started in the fall. And so all of you are going to be are going to regroup into your original research teams. And I'm going to talk at the end here very briefly about some action steps and how you go about completing that. But we'd like to see all those papers turn into final products that we can, by the end of the summer, by the end of this 8 weeks maybe, send out to journals and even look at conference proposals and other things like that. So we're going to be doing that, and that's going to be worth 40 points of your total grade, and I'm glad that we could bring that forward and use this class as a way to finish that off. So then skipping down to the peer feedback MMPI-2RF. One of the things that you may have realized in your own work is MMPI-2 RF, which is a shorter, briefer version of the original MMPI-2, but is very robust. And so we're going to be looking at the RF as well as the 2 and what are the differences and how was the RF developed. And alongside of that, then we're going to be bringing in some language and some concepts called therapeutic assessments. And so a lot of times, I don't know how it is in your clinical work, but I've seen a lot of assessments where everybody looks at the assessment and they use it more as a screening tool. No suicide. They stick it in the back of the chart, and all that MMPI was used for was something like assessing for suicidal ideation or something like that. So the therapeutic assessment model that I'd like to introduce to you is a way that you can get the most mileage out of using instruments and using assessments to be therapeutic with your clients. And so we think this is important. And was in my class here a couple years ago. He actually went to Texas and spent a day and a half studying with the guru of this, Stephen Finn, and it's made a real impact on his clinical work. So I'm excited to bring in this concept of therapeutic assessments by Stephen Finn into our learning. And then, of course, your invitation and collaborate sessions. And so there'll be 4. So we'll be meeting on the 2nd, 4th, 6th, and 8th week of the semester. So that means that each one of those is worth 15 points. And I do want to just say participation, this is not just the Woody Allen principle. You know, Woody Allen said 80% of success is just showing up. Well, that's good, but if you only want 80% of the 60 points, you have to do more than show up. You have to participate in these collaborates, and that means being there on time, staying the full length, and being engaged with the material there with your computer, not on your phone, not on your iPad, but you being in front of your computer, and not in a computer in Starbucks with 30 other people vying for the same bandwidth. Really just, showing up for class. We will, in this class, I will teach the class morning and night, and I do want to just point out that in the revised syllabus, so from 8, either in the AM or PM, and I would ask that you would pick one of those and try to stay true to it. So don't just bounce around. 1 week you're in one you're in the evening, then back to the morning. Now, if you have to switch and go to the evening because your life has come up, that's fine. But I think it does kind of make for a better kind of like teaching experience if you stay consistent with the same group of people over the 8 weeks. Nicole, how am I doing? Anything I need to say that I'm not saying?
No, I think you're catching everything.
Yeah. All right. So, yikes! How about these colors, right? So this is the first 2 weeks out of the syllabus. So your goal this week is to review the syllabus and to listen to this YouTube, which you're doing. And so I just wanted to kind of give you a dial you need to do this week and next week until we can actually meet face to face in a collaborate room. So this week, you should be watching this YouTube. You should be reviewing the syllabus, and you should be reading chapter 1 from Yosef Ben Porath's book, and chapters 1 and 2 from Groth Marnott and Wright textbook. You should also then be meeting in your research teams, and I know Nicole by the end of today will have the Blackboard set up and have a space for each of the research teams to meet and hang out, have their own collaborate room, and do some of this work. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to end this YouTube with, well, what are we doing in our research team? So we're going to give you a little bit of a framework so that you're not just like going, well, now what do we do? Now we're all here. So that week 1 should really be completing the MMPI-2, which will come out to you by tomorrow, and returning that as quickly as you can. And then meeting in the research teams and reviewing the syllabus and reading the course material. So week 2, we will have a collaborate session, and in that morning or evening session, whichever one you would jump into, we'll be giving you an overview of psychological instruments and other assessments, and talking about like a taxonomy and how they're arranged, as well as jumping into exploring the MMPI-2. And then there'll be some more work that we'll be asking you to do in your research teams beyond the collaborate session. And you can see then that there are tasks in week 2 that are readings, as well as watching some videos, and maybe just I guess there's the Finn article too, getting warmed up for therapeutic assessments. So I want to just kind of go back to the research team. So Nicole and I have spent some time over the 7 or 8 weeks. We can actually get you through and get you to a final product that we think should be close for ready to submit to a major journal. So in your appendix 2 of the syllabus, you will see exactly what's on this slide right here. And that is what you should. And so week 1 should be getting together with your group, yourself with your research project, blowing the dust off, remembering what it was you wrote. And you might begin to ask yourself the old questions of what do we know? What don't we know? And so, I would actually start with the research questions and hypotheses you developed, and review those, make sure everybody understands. Here's the questions we asked, and here's the hypotheses that came from those questions. And then go back and read the lit review and say, does the lit review, is it leading us to those questions and hypotheses? Are there new things that we need to explore? Are there things that we have in there that we need to take out? Is the writing clear? So the lit reviews should all be leading you up to those questions and hypotheses. And so that would be a lot of work to do in week 1. But I want you to do that even within a more focused approach. And that is, I'd like you then as a group or as a team to start to identify a potential journal for your article to be published in. You may not be able to land on a specific journal. You may, as a team, find 2 or 3 journals. But I would ask you to then at that point, if you get it down to say 2 journals, to rank order them. Here's our first journal, and then here's our second journal. And the reason why I want you to really land on a journal is because then I want you to immerse yourself in the second week of being familiar with that journal. Every journal structures their articles a little different. What are the headers they use? How long are the lit reviews? How long are the methods section? And so every journal, usually in the back of the journal or in the front or online at that journal site, you can find author guidelines. So for submitting an article to that journal, what is it you need to do? How do you need to structure the article? And all the nuts and bolts that need to be attended to it. So week 1 can be a very busy and productive week as you kind of refamiliarize yourself with your paper and ask specifically, what are our questions with them again? We're doing it, working us towards that direction, and then a journal that you would want to publish in. So that's a lot of work, and your team is going to be busy doing that. But stay on top and don't let that bleed over into weeks 2 and 3, because in weeks 2 and 3, we want you to start to begin to review your lit reviews and do rewrites on them, as well as the methodology in a way that is lining your paper for the journal to identify. Week 4 will be the week that you meet with Nicole and I, and that we are running your analysis and rerunning them. And so I'm working on getting the data from Dr. Grande for that, and we will clean that up. So Nicole and I, over the next 3 weeks, will be cleaning data and scrubbing it and getting it prepared for that reanalysis and that rerun. Weeks 5, you will begin to write the results and begin a discussion revision. And then weeks 6 and 7, you should be finishing up the final touches. And by the end of week 7, you should be submitting a paper to us that should be in really very good shape. Along the way here, if you want to submit to us rewrites of chapters 1 of your lit review, we'll be glad to give you feedback on those lit reviews and methods section as well. I don't have any submission dates for that, but hopefully you'll be just doing that on your own initiative as we work with you. Okay, Nicole, how have I done? Anything that you...
No, I think you've got our list, and I think we captured everything. So, yep, I think it's going to be a great semester.
Yeah, woohoo! I think this is exciting because I think, the goal of learning about the MMPI and all therapeutic assessments, as well as 8 weeks, we're going to have 4 journal articles ready or almost ready to submit. for everyone. I think this is an exciting time, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, it's very exciting. Me too.
Okay, I think we can stop this YouTube.
Okay.